The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Mesa Fire Department, Arizona, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 36567. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We'll get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Starting just under the front bumper, you'll find 2 open-ended tow hooks on the passenger and driver side. Also, just under the front bumper, you'll find dual air horns on the passenger and driver side. On a slight angle, you'll find emergency warning lights recessed in the front bumper. Also, you'll find on the face of the front bumper your electronic siren and PA speaker. Moving up onto the front bumper, you'll find a tubbed storage location with a swivel discharge. You'll also find on the cab face your unit identifier 203. Moving up to the outer edge, you'll find a marker turn indicator light and headlights housing low and high beam. High beam will be located on the inside. Just up from that, you'll find 2 forward-facing emergency warning lights on the passenger and driver side. Located in the center of the grille is where you'll find your mechanical siren. Directly behind the Pierce logo is where you'll find the release mechanism for gaining access under the hood. As we move up to the windshield area, you'll find 3 windshield wipers across the seamless one-piece windshield. Moving to the outer edge of the cab, you'll find your mirror housing a flat and convex mirror. Moving up to the brow of the apparatus, you'll find 5 ID clearance lights. On the passenger side, you'll find a down-facing mirror. As we move up to the roof area, on a slight angle, you'll find 2 forward-facing floodlights. And moving up onto the very top section of the roof, you'll find your emergency warning light bar. Located within inside the light bar in the center area is where you'll find your Opticom. Located just above the emergency light bar in the center is where you'll find your spot floodlight. This is controlled from within inside the cab area. Here's some items that we talked about earlier. Front bumper extension. We have emergency warning lights on the side and also slight angle. We have a storage location for your front bumper load, and then also a swivel discharge foam capable on the driver's side top section of the bumper extension. General view, a close-up here of the upper section of your emergency warning light bar and floodlights, and then also a full view of the entire vehicle from the driver's perspective. Let's take a look at the front cab area. Here's a side picture of the emergency warning light moving up onto the top, the swivel discharge. As we move toward the cab section, you'll find a auto eject shoreline plug. Moving further up onto the face of the cab side area near the hinge is where you'll find a side-facing camera. You'll also find easily accessible with a gloved hand your door lock and latch combination. It is keyed. And then also a grab handle for gaining access in and out of the cab. Directly over the front axle is where you'll find a side-facing emergency warning light. And directly above that, you'll find the cab scene light. Moving toward the rear wall of the cab, you'll find your LED water tank level indicator, and at the very top section, a side-facing emergency warning light. Let's take a look at the lower portion of the cab area. This is your shoreline inlet 15 amp auto eject. General view here of the pump panel area. Let's take a look at the body section, where you'll find 2 wheel chocks just in front of the rear axle. Also a marker light in front of the rear axle turn indicator. Directly over the rear axle, you'll find a side-facing emergency warning light. Directly above that, you'll find a side-facing body floodlight. And then as we move to the very rear of the apparatus on the very top section, you'll find an additional emergency warning light. General view here of the rear of the apparatus. And then let's go ahead and move now. Full view of the passenger side of the vehicle. Same configuration and layout when it comes to the cab and body section. But let's take a look at the cab area. We do have also on this side a side-facing camera. As we move to the midsection of the pump panel area and then to the full body section, let's go ahead and go back to the driver's space. We'll go inside the cab area, first starting with the door panel. Affixed to the door panel, safety and warning placard information, combination door lock and also latch, electric window controls, and a grab handle. At the base of the seat, you'll find an air inlet. As we move just inside the cab area at about the right ankle of the operator, you'll find this yellow placard indicating the date of manufacture of your vehicle, 5-digit job number, gross vehicle weight rating, cold tire inflation, the VIN number, all of the components, fluid capacity type, and volume amount. As we move to the floorboard, you'll find an air horn and electronic mechanical siren foot pedals. Moving up to about the left knee of the operator, engine, transmission, ABS, and diagnostic port. This is for your maintenance team. And then also you'll find a display port. As we move down, you'll find your ABS diagnostic switch, DPF regen switch, engine diagnostic switch, and regen inhibit switch. Moving up to the dash cluster, on the left, you'll find your 4-way flashers, ignition and start switch. Just inside of that location, a switch labeled EM, which stands for Emergency Master. This will engage or disengage all emergency lights. Also, your headlights and a switch labeled panel, which will allow you to brighten and dim lights within preview of the operator dash. To the right of the column, you'll find your OK to engage the high idle indicator and switch. You'll find gauges for your transmission, oil, def level, and water temperature, and then also front and rear air, fuel, volts. In the center, you'll find the tachometer and speedometer. Diagnostic information regarding your vehicle will display above and below the speedometer. Let's take a quick look here to the driver's right. Let's start first with your Pierce command zone. Tremendous amount of information. It's a visual screen. It's also a touch screen with also action buttons just below. Tremendous amount of information at your fingertips. Please see the owner's manual for more. Allison transmission pad, push button digital readout, pump in drive. Moving just to the right of this location, you're going to find a mechanical siren / electric siren foot switch. Also load manager, auto lube fault indicator, mechanical siren or auto cycle, and also siren brake. Your yellow diamond, which is your pull to apply your system parking brake and push to release. The green is a push and hold emergency parking brake release. As we move further to the right of the dash area, let's identify a few more items, first starting at the top with your engine brake on and off, a setting switch for medium, low, and high, your drug box switch, fuse block on and off, mirror heat, and off-road traction, pump shift, instructions from road to pump, and also instructions from pump to road. Just as a reminder, when exiting the cab, you need 2 green indicators, pump engaged and OK to pump, illuminating, indicating you've properly engaged your pump. As we move further to the right, you'll have the flat and convex mirror control for the side mirrors. As we move forward to this location, heat, air conditioning, defrost, and then also the control module for your spotlight overhead. As we move to the yellow placard over the driver's seat, this is identifying the height of the vehicle, 9 feet 10 inches, length of the vehicle, 31 feet 0.75 inches, gross vehicle weight rating, 44,800 pounds. If you make any adjustments, please update this placard. Also some switches, emergency master, front roof, front warning, side warning, rear warning, and your opticom. Also, you have all of your scene lights, scene master, front flood, driver's side scene, and passenger side scene, rear scene. When any of the switches have been activated, the green light will illuminate, indicating the switch has been activated. Let's move further to the right on the same vertical plane, where you'll find your Whelen siren control. This is for your electronic siren and PA speaker. Also, the traffic advisor right next to that. Overhead in the very center section, you'll find this red light indicating do not move your apparatus when the light is on. You may have a compartment open or ajar. Let's go ahead and move now toward the front, looking toward the rear in the center of the engine area, where you'll find your resource storage location. On the front face of that vertical surface is where you'll find a fuse block. We have 2 forward-facing seats and 1 rear-facing seat and an EMS compartment. Behind that EMS compartment is where you'll find the cradle point. Here's a close-up here of the cradle point. And then let's go ahead and move to the exterior. We'll start with the front axle. We have Alcoa wheel, Michelin tires, and a visual sight gauge for your front axle. From this location, let's go ahead and go to the rear section of the cab. Affixed to the door panel, safety and warning placard information, door lock and latch, electric window controls, and a grab handle. As we look to the overhead roof section, you'll find push on and off white or red lens lights, grab handles, your air conditioning unit, and then also your headset hangers. The two forward-facing seats are air ride seats, and then also a compartment on the driver's side directly behind the seat. As we look to the center area, a lift and turn latch at the rear of the engine will gain you access for your daily checks for oil and transmission. Let's go ahead and now move to the forward section where you'll find your portable radio chargers and then also 12-volt access via USB. There are also two fans on the rear side of the officer seat and driver's seat. We move now to the exterior cab where you'll find at the rear cab wall additional storage, LED lighting, and adjustable shelving. We're now to the Crosslays. Let's take a look at this area. First, starting at the bottom with the number 1, number 2, and number 3 Crosslay, all foam capable. I would like to point out we do have an entanglement warning hazard located in the lower section. Because of those lines coming from aloft, there is the possibility of entanglement. Let's move back up to the master gauges. On the left-hand side, you'll find the main pump intake gauge, and then just to the right, you'll find the pump discharge gauge. These are your two master gauges. As we move down from this location, once again, that warning placard regarding entanglement hazard, and that's because, once again, because of those lines from aloft, there is the possibility of entanglement. As we move down from that location, you'll find the test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure. They're currently plugged and are for testing purposes. Just to the right, you'll find the recirculating line and also engine cooler. These are both twist, not pull. As we move further to the right, you'll find your pressure throttle governor. Located inside this module is also your water tank level indicator. It's the blue module located in the center. In the upper right-hand corner, you'll find an audible speaker. The outer edge of that bezel does rotate, allowing it to dampen or brighten the sound. You'll also find a switch panel. In that switch panel is the OK to pump indicator light that will indicate that your pump is properly engaged. As we move down to the red module, this is your Husky 3 foam system, and then to the right you'll find your foam level gauge indicator. Let's move just down on the pump panel. You'll find all of our color-coded labeled discharge drains. The red is indicating foam capable. As we move to the right, a warning placard here regarding fall hazard. When climbing onto the vehicle, always face the vehicle. Just beneath that, you'll find the fire pump primer as a push-to-prime air prime, at least 1,000 RPMs for best practices. You'll find two electric valves located here. First, your large diameter passenger side discharge, and then also electric valve for your tank to pump. Moving further to the right, a pressure hazard warning. Caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening those caps. As we move further down, you'll find your Husky 3 foam system specifications and operating instruction placards, and then also the minimum operation maintenance schedule. We'll go over that in a few moments. Also a warning, only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment, and that's only after they've received proper training. Let's go back to the minimum operation maintenance schedule for 150, 200, and 250 PSI. On the left-hand side is the associated GPM at test pressure. On the right, the associated RPM at test pressure. Governed speed, 2,130 RPMs, 5-digit job number in the upper left-hand corner. As we move down, the Pierce American Flag Eagle is your large diameter driver's side inlet. Also to the right, you'll find your tank fill. Just down from that is the pump drain. And then all the way down to the very bottom is your manual pump shift. There is a caution information regarding that pump shift. Let's move further down to the very bottom section, just above the running boards, where you'll find all of our color-coded and labeled discharge drains. On the far left, you'll find your auxiliary driver's side 2.5-inch inlet locally controlled ball valve. You'll also find your Watrous placard indicating the capacity of your pump, 1,500 GPM, and also your foam draft tank lever and inlet. Also a warning regarding foam failure. Do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam. Back to the Watrous placard, once again, 1,500 GPM. As we move into the pan door, behind the pump panel is the foam control. Instructions are on the panel on the back of the door. Also, foam pump discharge drain and foam pump intake drain just underneath the side running board. You do have a pull-out tray that pulls out for standing on. And also just underneath that area, you'll find the foot pedal for the real rewind. That is your booster line. As we move through the compartments, I'd like to start in the upper left-hand corner in this compartment. On the vertical side sheet is where you're going to find the auto charger. When plugged into Shoreline power, this outlet becomes active, maintaining battery charge. You'll also find SCBA bottle storage for up to 4 bottles in this area. As we move to the rear of the axle, you'll find SCBA bottle storage with retaining strap and also your silver cap, which is your ultra low sulfur diesel. When we expose the blue cap, this is your 4.5 US gallon DEF tank. Let's go ahead and move now to the next compartments. Take a look inside those. In the very rear section, a tool board. The tool board will open and it will lock into position. The release is located on the hinge side of the back of the tool board. All compartments are now open. Let's move around now to the rear of the apparatus. First, let's start at the very top section. At the very top, emergency warning lights. And then also as we move through the rear section, we have ladder and also hand tool storage in the upper left-hand side. Also, we have a rear scene light, which is a control function switch in the very bottom left corner. Let's take a look at some warning placards on the rear left-hand side. First, entanglement hazard because the line's coming from aloft. Also, never ride on the vehicle while it is in motion. And while climbing onto the vehicle, always face the vehicle while climbing onto it. In the very center is going to be your traffic advisor. As we move down to the right side of the vehicle and left side is where you'll find your emergency warning light, brake, turn, and reverse light. You also have fold down steps that are also illuminated for night access. In the very rear compartment, you'll find a pull-out tray release mechanism located on the right. Your powered equipment rack is located inside this area. There is a remote and then also danger and instructions to raise and lower on the placard itself. Let's move around now to the passenger side of the vehicle. All compartments are open. Let's start at the very rear of the truck and take a look inside these compartments. First, let's start with the rear, adjustable shelving and LED lighting, ventilation in each compartment. As we move to the vertical wall, you'll find 12-volt DC panel located on the very rear section. As we move forward, you'll find 3 SCBA storage locations, also a combination of oxygen and SCBA bottles. As we move to the rear axle, once again, Michelin tires, Alcoa wheels. Let's go ahead and move up to the next compartment where you'll find SCBA bottle storage in addition with an oxygen bottle storage. As we move to the bottom section just in front of the rear axle, extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures do exist, especially during regen operation. Please protect your exhaust area and be cautious where you park your vehicle. As we move to the forward section, you have adjustable shelves and also a pull-out tray. Once again, the release for those trays is located on the right-hand side. It will lock into position. As we move now to the midsection, let's start at the cross-through. Same configuration as layout, Crosslays 1, 2, and 3. We do have an entanglement warning placard located in this area also. As we look now to the pan door, you'll find your intake relief valve. This is your adjustment for that. And then as we move down on the pump panel, you'll find the number 4 and number 3 passenger side 2.5-inch discharges. Also, you'll find a entanglement warning placard because of those lines coming from aloft. We do have the Pierce logo American flag eagle. This is your large diameter inlet, and then also the green large diameter discharge. As we move into the pan door, this is the equipment rack hydraulic reservoir. It also has a placard indicating the type of fluid for that hydraulic reservoir. As we move to the lower section, all of our color-coded and labeled discharge drains. Let's go ahead and move forward to this location and the very bottom section where you'll find a pull-out standing tray. As we move to the rear section of the cab, same configuration as the driver's side, adjustable shelf and also LED lighting. Let's move inside the rear section of the cab area. As we start, let's go with the door panel. Affixed to that door panel, safety and warning placard information, door lock and latch, window control, and grab handles. Same configuration inside, push on and off red or white lens lights, grab handles, and also headset hangers. On each side, you'll find additional storage locations.
And you do have in the very rear section, the forward facing are going to be air ride seats. This is the passenger side, 2 fans, forward, rear facing, I'm sorry. And then also we have Michelin tires, Alcoa wheel for your front axle, and a visual sight gauge. Directly behind the seat is your unit main head radio. As we move to the front section of the cab, you'll find in the officer space, this vehicle is equipped with a supplemental restraint system and airbag. Please do not mount anything within this area without consulting with Pierce. Also, as we move toward the center, you'll find your computer station here. Also within that same area on the left vertical side area is where you'll find a push button. This is for your air horn. Let's go ahead and go overhead of the officer seat. We'll identify a few things here. Starting first, on the very far right, we have a control module for the go light. This is once again the light controlled from on top of the vehicle. It's the spot floodlight. Also, we have some switches here for emergency master, master scene, front flood, driver scene, passenger scene, and rear scene. Once again, any of these switches have activated, the light will illuminate in the switch indicating that it is on. As we move to the left, you'll find your main unit radio. Moving further to the left or toward the center of the cab area is where you'll find your AM, FM, Sirius XM, Bluetooth, weather band radio. As we move now to the next set of images, these are going to be with your equipment rack down. Let's go ahead and go up on top of the vehicle to the rear section of the hose bed area. The diamond plate area does have yellow reflective diamonds indicating the edge of the walking surface for firefighter safety. We also have top storage access into the dunnage and hose bed area separate from the actual hose bed itself. This is the top access for water and top access for your foam. As we look to the foam tank, it is the blue in color, 500 gallons. As we move toward the foam, which is on the opposite side, 30 gallon, it is the green. And I would like to point out, do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam for the possibility of foam failure. Now as we look to the very rear section for your hose storage area, in the rear section of the hose storage area, you also have a rear-facing passenger side 2.5-inch discharge. You can see it in the front bulkhead area. As we move forward into the dunnage area, this is where your master stream device is located. Also, you'll find your booster line and your Husky 3 foam system reservoir. Let's take a look at those. First, this is the Deluge Discharge open and close valve. As we move to the booster line, you'll find a free tension spool knob on the right and a manual rewind. As we move to the cab area, you'll find this is a non-walking surface. That's why we have these identifying warning placards indicating that this area is a non-walking surface. The next set of images are that of the cab in the upright position or tilted position. These are going to be images of the engine, transmission, and also chassis area. Just as a reminder, when tilting the cab, fully tilt the cab to the upright position with both cylinders having pressure on them, passenger and driver side. Once the cab is tilted, place the safety bar into position. Do not lower the cab onto the safety bar. As we move to the chassis frame on the driver's side, just to the rear of the front axle is where you'll find the switch for your fuel primer. Also in the same vicinity of the batteries, just underneath the battery box, is where you'll find the negative and positive terminals. Also on the back side of this is where you'll find the hydraulic reservoir. This is the location where your hydraulic pump is, and also the location for the manual override. This is the last image that will conclude the images of the chassis, frame, engine, and transmission. Congratulations, Mesa Fire Department, Arizona, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 36567. If you have any questions regarding your apparatus, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.